Okay. We are after a 400A. Fluidmaster 400A. We're at one of those big awful box stores because our local joint is not open on Sunday. Head Plumbing, which is to your left. Alright, we're going to find a 400A and we'll be right back. Okay, 400As. Alright, several different ways to get them. This is the Fluidmaster Universal part number 400A. And it comes several different ways. Look, there's a new and improved, faster, quieter version. Yeah, I don't really think it's worth double the price. There's a 3-pack, which is a great deal if you have 3 toilets that need this. Over here, it's the 400H, which is like a stripped down, super cheap version, but it comes with a kit. There's your flush throats. Here's the corky version of the 400A. This was revolutionary when they first came out with it. And at this point, everybody makes a version of it. And no matter how expensive or how cheap it is, mostly how expensive, none of them have managed to do it any better than the simple, universal Fluidmaster 400A fill valve, ball cock, whatever you'd like to call it. All right, we are going to head to the job site now and we'll check back later. Oh wait, leave that running just a minute. Come on down this way. This is for Dean. Dean. Well, like I said, you'll find these in box stores. Danco. That's your brand. These people, one of the last people that make quality aftermarket plumbing bits and bobs. This section here, this is what you're looking for your stem. In fact, that one there is not too different from the one in the faucet we demoed to show you how to do that. But like I said, they all have similarities. They all have differences. But this is the section you're looking for, the little narrow packs. Again, Danco is the way to go, unless you can find a genuine Delta that matches up. And most of these places will have a few genuine Delta parts. Delta parts are easy to spot. Great big black packaging. And this is one of the kits I was mentioning. Now this particular one is not for your type of faucet. This is for a tub. But see how it has a couple of springs and has a couple of those seats. Alright, anyway, we're wasting time. We got a job to do. We'll see y'all in a bit. Here we are, where we're going to be changing the 400A. I don't know if you can see it or not, but you can kind of see how the water is moving a little bit. You may be able to hear if you listen. So let's show you what that is. We're going to take that tank off. What that is the toilet is running. Everybody knows, hey, jiggle the handle, so stop running. That won't work in this case, because what that does, if you have a problem with the flapper down there, jiggle the handle. Usually the chain getting caught in the flapper. Look here real close. You see how you can see the water running over down the overflow there? Ooh, that tank is loose too. But you can see the water running over the overflow. What's going on is this, the fill valve, is not shutting off. That's the float. Adjust it. At some point that float should shut the water off. When you pull it all the way up, it still doesn't shut the water off. Oh, see, we push on the top, the water can shut off. The problem's in here. I imagine that little valve in there is worn out. Now, this is a fancy one that's got a separate adjustment for your water flow. Save a little water so you're not wasting it filling the toilet. But what that is the fill valve. Now your fill valve, if you have an older toilet, it may be what they call a ball cock, which is a much skinnier looking valve and a big long wire and a great big aluminum, brass, or even styrofoam float. Just a big round float over here. And a rod that everyone, oh, bend the rod, which is not how you did that, but it's what everybody did because it almost worked. So the first thing we're going to do is make a huge mess. Actually, that's not the first thing we're going to do, but let's go down here under the toilet. We're going to change out the fill valve. Now, these tank lids, you cannot buy a replacement tank lid. Not since the Harriet Carter magazine went under. You didn't really want the one they had. So we're going to go to the cutoff valve. And of course, it will almost always be frozen. And we're going to turn the water off, and it'll start leaking the minute you do this. They all do. See? Look at that. But we'll take care of that later. Then we're going to come up here. And we're just going to flush the toilet. We're going to hold it open so that as much drains out as possible. Now this is one of those water savers you buy in the big box stores. which means there's still half a gallon of water in there, and the only way that it's coming out is on the floor. So we're going to need a bucket. Meanwhile, what we're looking to do here, you don't necessarily need a bucket. You can get a big bowl. If you look underneath, right there, the water comes up, comes in, water comes in right there. That black piece is the bottom of the fill valve, and that is the nut. We're going to take this loose, then we're going to take this loose. And as soon as we get that loose, we're going to need the bucket. So, all we really need for this is a little pair of channel locks. I'm going to tell you, this is not my favorite pair. I'm not a big brand name guy, but brand channel locks are just the best way to go, period. However, everybody should have a pair of 10-inch channel locks, 10-inch offset head multi-groove pliers in just your most basic toolbox. They are absolutely wonderful. They are indispensable. You're going to get a little bit of water out of the line. Don't worry about it. You can always towel it up when you're done. Now, here's where we're going to get real messy. Sometimes there's a wing nut on the bottom of the more modern ones, the more modern fill valves. Sometimes there's a nut you'll have to use those pair of channel locks on. This one has a very large wing nut. It also wasn't as tight as I'd like it to be. Didn't leak, so I guess we're okay there. Now that we got that coming off, we're pushing down on the inside here. If you'll look inside the toilet tank, see we're pushing down on this the whole time that we're taking the nut off. And the reason for that is to keep that hole plugged. Because now we're going to unplug it. Now the valve's in the way, so we'll have to actually hold it over there like that. Now we're just going to take that out. Yeah, you can see all the water is leaving the toilet tank. Most of it is on the floor because it's those cursed water savers. And some is just going to drip. Don't worry about it. They make towels. You should probably have a couple. If not, your homeowner may have a couple that let you use. If you're doing this professionally, you want to keep some on the truck. Alright, now come up inside the tank. Come up inside the tank here, and you can see we've got the hose. This little hose, the fill valve is totally loose. This little hose, what this is the bowl filler. It goes directly into here. This overflow leads to the bowl. That is how the bowl gets full. That is also why when the toilet is running non-stop, you can see water coming into the bowl. You hear it, you see it. That's your alert that something is wrong. Now, this is the 400A that we bought earlier. As you can see, it looks something like the one that we just pulled out. Comes with instructions. If you haven't installed several hundred of them over the years, you might want those. That is your fill valve. We'll discuss these little pieces here in a minute. And that is for filling your bowl. Now, if you study this, there's a rubber gasket will seal on the bottom of the toilet, or the toilet tank. You put the nut on there and draw it up tight. That's what keeps the water in the tank. The way these work, as the water comes up, it'll raise the float. Then this lever right here will get to a point that it shuts off the flow. This is your fine adjustment. What it does is it changes the distance of this lever from the float. You turn it one way and the lever gets closer. You turn it the other, the lever gets further away. What that means is that the valve will shut off with a lower water level. This is your gross adjustment. A lot of the old school toilets were 5-gallon toilets. You'd need this thing to be just about here to get 5 gallons of water in there. What we're going to do is kind of guess This locks it down, keeps it from blowing apart. We're going to kind of guess. There's a little mark in the back of most toilets, most toilet tanks rather. Tells you what the water line is. Sometimes there's 3 little holes. If you have a really old toilet, there's actually little holes. But you got your water line. This should shut off right about here. And we're going to raise the water line some. That's going to be a little too high. Again, we're just roughing in. So we're going to pop that open and push it down. Maybe 2 more clicks. That should be good. Now, because this is a water saver and such a tiny little tank, you'll notice if you turn the fill valve wrong, the flapper will hit it. So you want to make sure that you've got it turned where it doesn't interfere with the tank lever. It does not interfere with the flapper. None of that interferes with any of it. So that's how we're going to install it in this particular job. This little nipple right here on the side, you're going to take and you're going to put your tank fill hose, or your bowl fill hose, excuse me. Now, that brings us, this has a molded spot that is technically for this. Sometimes you can't use it because either something is in the way, sometimes you'll just shove it down there. That's what this little black piece was for in this little bag. I'm going to go ahead and show that to you. Sometimes your retaining pieces in here are broken because plastic, which this is, does not like chlorine, which city water is full of. And if that's the case, all you would do is just push the hose onto here, and then this would just give you something to clip it to there and hold it in place. We don't need it in this application, so we're not going to use it. Now, I'm not going to get too carried away or too fancy. Don't really have to. Just make sure that's pushed in there that it won't come out. Double check that we're not in the way of interfering with anything. And then we're going to take the nut. Now this one's also a wing nut. So you'll basically be putting that on with your thumbs. We're going to go back under the toilet. We're going to move our bucket out of the way. We're going to take our towels and kind of sop up a little of that while we're working. Now, with one hand on the valve, don't push too hard, you won't break anything. Just hold it straight, hold it firm, basically, so it stays lined up and can't change as you tighten it. Alright, pretty good for finger tight. As I said before, not the biggest fan of finger tight, so we're just going to add a 1/4 turn. Nothing super fancy. We're just going to add a 1/4 turn. Yeah, we're going to have to use the pliers. Yeah, this isn't exactly the way to use them. But this toilet was not installed correctly. It's too close to the wall. It should almost touch. In fact, when you sit on there and kind of lean on it, it should touch. But it's touching the wall now. That should not be the case. So we don't really have the room to get the pliers like we want them. And of course, this doesn't have a nut shape. There we go. Now let's get a little bit of turn, but again, not a lot. We just want to make sure that rubber isn't going to leak. Now we've got that done. We're going to put our water line back on. Oops. Let's give it about a 1/4 turn. beyond and tight. So we're going to look for leaks everywhere. We're going to look for leaks around the valve here. We're going to look for leaks around the tank here, around the hose there. But the first thing we want to do is check the water level and see how our guess worked out. So the adjusting we need to do. That's going to take it a minute to fill. So let's see if we can give it a little help. That is basically the water that we poured out of it, that it dumped out of the bottom. Now, there's a lot to hate about these water savers. I know everybody, oh, you shouldn't say that, they're good. They don't work because it's so tight in here that the float drags the back of the tank. No matter what you do to turn it or change it, there's always going to be a clearance issue in these ridiculous things. Okay, that's where it's shutting off. And that is our linea de agua. This is our water line. So we need to adjust it. We're going to try the fine adjustment first. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn it so that the float gets closer to this little lever, which means it will take more water to shut the valve off. We're not going to be able to adjust it enough, so we'll probably have to turn the water off and do one more big step adjustment with where we break it apart. So we're going to come back down under the toilet. We're going to turn that off. Now, here's another reason to go with a 400A, always. What we're doing now is letting the water out, taking the pressure off of that. That white ring that we saw earlier that locks it into place, we're going to pull up on that, just the white ring, hold this in place. Again, water saver so your hands don't fit. And we're going to raise this one more click. Then we're going to lock the white ring back down. Make sure it's locked down. We may have to take it out because my hands barely fit in this cursed water saver. There we go, we got it. But I just finished telling you to always make sure you get a 400A. The reason is, if you ever have a problem with this, it will always be the same exact problem. There's a little needle and rubber disc that form the valve. It's underneath this cap. It is replaceable. You can buy that needle and rubber disc for like $2. Don't bother, because you will destroy it trying to change it every single time. So you're not saving yourself any money or saving yourself any time, because all that's going to happen is you buy that, and you think, oh, I goofed it up, I'm going to buy another one. Then you bought two, then you're going to tear it up, then you're going to give up and buy a whole new 400A. But once you make the change, once you have it changed to a 400A, what we just did to do that adjustment, you're going to go in here, I need to change this out because it's leaking, because something's going wrong with it. You're going to raise that white collar up, pop it up like you're going to make an adjustment, and you're going to snatch the entire top completely off. You're going to take your new one, and you're going to pop that little collar apart, and you're going to slide it completely apart, and you're going to push the new top on, and lock it in place, and you're done. Done, done, done. Make sure you turn the water off, or it's going to be really funny. I mean, really funny because it's not my sheetrock. All right. So I'll give this just a minute. Honestly, dude, I'm amazed this doesn't leak. It's just as wobbly and badly connected as that is. Hell, the nuts are missing. What the hell? Oh, these people got totally screwed by the last plumber. Huh. We may have pushed it down instead of raised it up, huh? Because we have an even worse water line. play with this some. See if this will move in for us. Yeah, but maybe not enough. And a lot of adjustment there. Happens sometimes. Okay, so one more adjustment. We're going to go ahead and cut this off. Now, here's where we're going to cheat some. I usually have a Sharpie, but I don't today. Would you believe that's actually a sticker? I can't write on it. Ha. Well, okay, we know that right now, the top of the valve is level with that edge of the sticker. So we're going to turn the water off. Like I said, take a little pressure off. All that does is get the water out of the ball cock, the pressure out of the water. Pick up with a collar. Let's say something's wrong with this one. There you go. Take the whole thing loose. Bottom stays put. He slides a new one on there. He slides a little collar and lock it into place. And that'll be forever and ever. I don't know. There are a lot of knockoffs of this, like I was saying earlier. I don't know who invented this thing. I mean, I know Fluidmaster put the first one on the market. I don't know who the actual inventor was. Just that Fluidmaster produced it. I don't know who he was, but I hope he made $1 million. Because this has been the single greatest improvement to toilet technology ever. Alright, let's turn it back on. We're going to need to turn it because we have it a little bit too close to the flush handle. Right on the money. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put the tank lid back on. Then we're just going to give it a quick check for leaks and tell the customer that they can enjoy a much lower water bill going forward.